Good evening everybody, this is Sumpika bringing you my first Jade Harvester video. In this short intro I'll first describe what the rest of the video will consist of, which will be a 1-hour speak of me discussing the Jade Harvester build for patch 2.2.0, all the changes, all the possibilities, and pretty much everything that I could get my mind on. And in the lower left corner there are examples of how I run this. So far I've been doing 46 and 47 on the Greater Rift, and the videos are from there. These are different kinds of Jade Harvester builds, and I will be going into detail on how they're different in the video later. So far you just need to know that in the first video I'm running with Azurewrath as my weapon, in the second I'm running Sunkeeper, in the third I'm running Star Metal Kukri, in the fourth I'm running Sunkeeper again, and in the end I'm running a bounty run and a few Torment 6 runs. There will be timings in the description down below, so you can see when I'm doing which run, so you can see how I play and what I do in the different builds. Hello everybody, this is Sumpika bringing you the first of my Jade Harvester videos. In this video I'm going to be presenting the new Jade Harvester build for patch 2.2.0. As you know, the Jade Harvester build has been updated, and this means that one-handed Jade Harvester builds are actually viable for the first time in, well, ever. This is because the new 2-set bonus in the Jade Harvester set now deals 10 seconds of the horn's damage in the first whenever it hits a target. This means that despite before, attack speed actually matters. Before, the two-handed weapons were supposed to be as slow as possible, which made the furnace very good because it had a low attack speed, hence a high damage. You'll see the damage on this ancient Sunkeeper is 2733 per second, but the number that actually matters for Haunt is the number below it, the number 1940 to 2615. This is the only number that matters for the boom. Before, the only damage that really mattered was the boom, but now we also have the haunt damage itself. The faster you attack, the more haunts you cast and the more damage it deals. So, if you are like me and you don't have the ancient furnace or the ancient wormwood, but you do have the ancient one-handers, you can do this, and this video will be a demonstration of how to do it at Greater Rift 46. This is the best recording I have so far. I know it can do better, I have done better myself. I believe the cap is around 50. If you get a decent ancient weapon. This Sunkeeper I have here is not very good. I haven't gifted it yet, I need gifts, and the elite damage is very low. I will come back to the choices of gear in a little while. First of all, I want to talk to you about the two different possibilities of the Jade Harvester. You can either go poison or cold. You see, poison deals 20% more damage. Excuse me. For all sources, every time for each enemy hit by haunt. This means basically every unit you attack in solo, because, well, haunt is your damage. That is the damage that is applied to your soul harvest. So this is 20% more damage for everything. This is pretty good. The cold, however, is 2 spirits cast every time you cast. These 2 spirits both work with the 2-set Jade Harvester, which means that every time you cast a haunt on 2 targets, both of them are hit with 10 seconds worth of damage. The cold damage is good for fast reapplication of the new haunt, and faster reapplication, which means that you can dot up an entire group of monsters twice as fast, and you can go boom twice as fast. Poison, however, when you have them dotted up, you deal more damage. So poison is good for single target, or better for single target, and cold is better for group play against big groups of monsters. Not for group play. Poison is better for group play because it increases the damage of all your allies as well. That's not the point. This is strictly for solo play. Also, I might add that with the faster attack speed for all your weapons, for all your haunts, mana is going to be an issue. You're gonna run out of mana because, well, when you cast Haunt faster, you spend more mana. As you can see now, just casting Haunt costs more mana than a regen, and that's really not desirable. However, it only really matters against the Rift Guardian, as the Soul Harvest now gets the effect of all runes, including this one. Every time you hit a monster, you gain 5% of your maximum mana. So you hit 10 monsters, you gain 50% of your mana back instantly. Mana is only really an issue against the Rift Guardians, but I have noticed that stacking a bit of mana regeneration, specifically on your offhand, is a good idea. Even with this on, I lose mana. You can just imagine how much faster I've been losing mana if I didn't have this one on. Actually, you can just do that. So, I want to be talking to you about the gear. I want to be talking to you about the spells, and I want to talking to you about all the different possibilities and different builds within the Jade Harvester now. Now we do have a lot more options now than we had before. Before we had the option between, well, Furnace or Wormwood. That was basically it. Otherwise you had to gain 40 to 45% cooldown reduction. Your toughness didn't really matter, and everything, and you had to avoid attack speed. Everything else would just be the higher the damage, the better the gear. It's not quite that simple anymore. Luckily, we have a lot more belts to choose from. We have a lot more weapons to choose from. We have a lot more rings to choose from, and even the braces can be changed. So, first of all, there are two different kinds of ways to play the new Jade Harvester with the one-hand weapons. That is the boom way. This is mainly and exclusively interested in making big booms with the Soul Harvest build. And then there is the Haunt way. This build is focusing on reapplying Haunt as much as possible, and this is your primary damage, dealing the 10 seconds worth of Haunt damage all the time. This build is very good for having high attack speed on weapon and gear, dealing high damage, having high resistance, and low melee reduction, because you're going to be standing far away from the mobs with the Size Stone of Vengeance. And also you're going to have high mana regen, because you're going to be reapplying the Haunt all the time and not doing much of the Soul Harvest giving you mana back. The Boom build, however, focuses on slow attack speed on weapon and gear, high cooldown reduction, high damage output, and high melee reduction. You're going to be standing in the fire, and you are getting hit by mobs, so you're going to be having a lot of toughness. You're going to have a lot of melee reduction. So you have two different kinds of builds, Boom and Haunt, and you have two other kinds of build, Cold or Poison. These can be conjectured, and you're going to be able to use Boom with Cold or Boom with Poison, and Haunt with Cold and Haunt with Poison. That's for your choice, actually, and your playstyle. If you want to boom, want to stand in the middle of the mobs, you're going to be booming. And if you're going to be standing far away from the mobs, maybe even having your fetishes do some tanking, you're going to be going with the Haunt way. I'm not going to go into all the different kinds of ways to do these. I might do some future videos showing the Boom build in particular and the Haunt build, but for now I'm just going to be talking about these possibilities actually existing. I get so sad when I go to Diablo fans, some of the other forums, and seeing people ask if Jade is dead, and well, one response is yes. There's no discussion about Jade. Nobody seemed to really care about it. But the playstyle has changed and is different. I won't say more interesting or less interesting, but it's very different from running in and reapplying your Spirit Walk all the time. You're going to be needing a lot more toughness, and you're going to be dealing a lot more damage. And maneuverability is even more important now than it was before. So this is really just to show that there are a lot of possibilities, and even though you might not be able to beat Carnival, we are able to. Let's just see how we are able to get on the leaderboard. This is the European leaderboard. If we say that the cap is about 50, well, we could go pretty far up the leaderboards. This is with the one-hander. I believe that the two-handed builds are still better if you're gonna go for the boom, simply because of the lower damage we can take. I have a bad furnace here. You can see that this damage 3,361 to 3,908 is a lot more than the Sunkeeper's 940 to 2,615. So the booms on the furnace are gonna be bigger. Simply gonna be bigger. Though it has a lower attack speed, and you don't get to have the ancient offhand if you're lucky enough to have one of these. Anyway, you can see in the video I'm running a build with the Size Stone of Vengeance, the Bane of the Trapped, and Taeguk. Also, I'm going to be running Convention of Elements. This is a pretty aggressive way to play. The less aggressive way is to choose the Esoteric Alteration, but I'm going to come back to that. Now I'm going to be talking about the spells. I have Cold for this build. I like that because it allows me to wear another belt than the where is it? Haunting Girdle. Haunt releases one extra spirit. I find this to be mandatory if you go for the poison build, because you have to release Haunt very fast, or you're gonna be, well, you're not gonna be doing enough damage, basically. So I'm gonna be running the Haunt with the Witching Hour. These are, in my opinion, a combination of each other, and you need to have Cold to be able to choose any other build. I have chosen the Witching Hour to deal more damage. The Perinator, well, this is just for the crowd control and the increased damage. I don't see any way to do Jade without this. I am not running Sacrifice, I'm sorry about that. This is another way to play it. I'm gonna be showing another video of that when I beat 47 with it. I am running Hex with the Jinx. This is another crowd control, and also makes the enemy take 20% additional damage. You have this up all the time. It hexes for 3 seconds with a 4-second cooldown. So it's basically up all the time. Also, the cooldown is shorter than the time it lasts, you see. And in combat you're going to be using the Grave Injustice for less cooldown. So you're going to have this up all the time. Soul Harvest, it doesn't really matter what runes you choose here. The damage won't change, and you get all the effects of every rune with the 4-set bonus in Jade Harvester. Spirit Walk, I have tried running without this. I died a lot. I tried 44 with it, and I died like 20 times. Don't ever go without Spirit Walk. Horrify is also pretty much mandatory, as it always has been. I tried replacing it with something else, like the Zombie Dogs Chill to the Bone for the increased damage and the small tanking they provide, and they do increase the damage. But I died a lot to Mass Confusion, not really good enough, even with the Mass Confusion Unstable Realm, or with Wall of Zombies, Barricade, or Wrecking Crew. These are possibilities, but I find Horrify to be the best one. For the passives, we got Spirit Vessel, an extra life basically, and some cooldown reduction. I cannot see myself running without this. I haven't even tried because this is just so perfect for Jade. Grave Injustice just as well. This is made for the Jade. It almost feels like it's made for the Jade. Reduces the cooldown every time you kill a monster. This is not as good as it was because it doesn't work with Spirit Walk as well as it did before. When you cast Spirit Walk, the cooldown doesn't start until the effect is off, and now they work together. So you have to not be immortal before you can use the Grave Injustice. Creeping Death is mandatory if you want to do any damage with the Jade Harvester. You can go watch any other guide and they'll tell you it's the same. They'll make your dots last for 5 minutes and increases your damage from 10 million to 1.5 billion. You need this. I find the last one to be the only open slot. I have a Hellfire Amulet giving me Pierce the Veil. You can choose to have that. You can choose to have Gruesome Feast if you like that more. You can choose to have Jungle Fortitude for the higher toughness. You can choose to have Fetish Sycophants for the tanking and the damage they produce. I find them producing around 200 to 300 million damage a second, which is not really that bad. But it depends on your playstyle. The Gruesome Feast is more old school because it was the only viable one before. You didn't need toughness, you didn't need tanks, you only needed the extra damage. Now, however, you need toughness and you need tanks. You can also go for the bad medicine. However, I recommend you use this only when wearing Wormwood, because Wormwood reapplies your Locust Swarm all the time, and this only lasts for 3 seconds. You're not going to be reapplying anything for 3 seconds, except if you go for the fast attack speed horn thingy, but then you're not going to be taking damage, and the damage reduction is redundant. I choose to use Gruesome Feast right now, and I did in this video, simply for the increased damage. When you are running a fast Greater Rift, you're going to be needing a lot of damage, and 50% extra intelligence, 5 times 10 is a lot. My sheet damage is pretty high, but I find myself running with around 3 million sheet DPS in combat from the Soul Harvest, damage increase from where is this? It's just the basic 3% extra intelligence for each affected enemy, a lot of bonus damage, and then the 50% increase from Gruesome Feast is around 3.5 million. That's a lot of damage. And this is the thing with the new Jade Harvester build. You're going to be doing a lot of damage if you can survive. But you can't. Simply, it's as simple as that. You're going to be very, very, very good to avoid taking damage at any time. And me personally, I'm simply not that good. I die sometimes, but I find if I kill even faster than they kill me, I can manage in time. This is a pretty frustrating way to play because you die a lot, but that just depends on your playstyle. Well, okay, these are the spells I used in this video. I'm gonna be showing you some alternatives now, and keep in mind that these alternatives are only really useful if used in conjunction with something else that they increase the damage or the toughness or the crowd control or basically anything. First of all, we have the zombie dogs with the chill to the bone. These zombie dogs increase the damage by 15% for everything they hit or are hit by. I find that this is best used when you use a Eucanian Serpent, because you take 30% less damage when using zombie dogs. You lose a lot of, well, this is not really that well showed because my Sunimasa is ancient and my Ukemian serpent is not. If we assume that these are equally rolled, you will just simply take 30% less damage. This is a pretty good option, I like it. Other spells are Mass Confusion, Paranoia. This is with the Horrify. You can go into the middle of a lot of maps and use it as a panic button to say, I don't want to die right now, but I want to kill you 20% faster. So I'm going to be using Mass Confusion Paranoia. This is best for the boom build because you have to be in the middle of the fight to actually make it useful. The Jinx we've already talked about. The Horrify spell, you used to use Stalker for extra movement speed, and you can still use that. Movement speed is a very good way to avoid damage if you know where to run. You can also use this one. You didn't really use that before, but if you're running the Haunt Reaffliction damage, if a mob gets close to you, it's feared for 5 seconds instead of just 3 seconds. And it gets away from you, so you have a second or two before you get hit when it runs back at you. You can also run Face of Death for the extra yards, or you can run for the mana regeneration from this one if you feel you're lacking too much mana. Or you can go for the extra armor. I would recommend that only for the boom build because you need the extra armor. Really, this is up to you. All the runes are pretty good, and you have the choice for the build you are running. Next is Zombie Wall Wrecking Crew. This spell makes this a little wall of zombies that taunts enemies. I don't like this. Gotta be honest, other people run it, I don't like it. You can see that when I'm running and I need to cast it, it takes a lot of time for it to cast. You stop to cast the spell and then you're dead. Imagine I'm being shot by something, I have to stand for about a second, a little less, and a second in Jade time is equals dead a lot of the time. I don't like this, but you can run it. The last one in this category is the Sacrifice Provoke the Pack. This one is sacrifices a zombie dog, and every time you sacrifice a zombie dog you get 20% bonus damage. This is very good when used with a homunculus, or whatever it's called. Homunculus gives you a zombie dog every 2 seconds. So let's just see, I am at 1.6 million and I sacrifice one and it goes up by a little less than 300,000. And I can sacrifice up to 5 at a time. There you see. Almost 2.9. I find that in actual gameplay you can keep around 2 stacks up at a time, so you're gonna be at, what's that, 2.1. That's pretty decent, and also if you don't spam this, you may have 1 or 2 up that can tank for you, or at least take a few shots. For offensive spells, if you, let's make this back to Horrify, I like the Stalker. If you want your 4th spell to be aggressive instead of defensive, you can go for the Big Bad Voodoo with the Slam Dance. This is a classic. It increases your movement speed, attack speed and damage. You can of course run the Star Metal Kukri here. I don't have an ancient one, however the damage is mad when you do this. 2.2, and you attack way faster than you did before. This is good because the Star Metal Kukri is pretty good. You can also replace Horrify with Fetish Army, Legion of Daggers, and you're gonna have these extra bastards up all the time. This means you don't have to run with either the Belt of Transcendence or the passive that makes Fetish Sycophants. And the Star Metal Kukri of course makes your cooldown on these 2 spells basically non-existent. And you can of course run the something else than the homunculus because you don't have zombie dogs. and you don't have sacrifice on. So I'd recommend just going for the best rolled one you have if you're going with the Star Metal Kukri. Another way you can go, this is uncooler, I'm going to switch this one, is the Locust Swarm. This used to be mandatory for the Jade. Locust Swarm with Pestilence. You make this one. At the enemies it spreads very fast and deals pretty decent damage. 1000% damage, and this is added to your Soul Harvest. Of course this is only usable if you're going for the big boom, as the Haunt increased damage from the 2-set bonus will not be affected by the Locust Swarm. You can run this and Bad Medicine if you keep reapplying the Locust Swarm. I find myself lacking mana because Locust Swarm costs 300 mana, I have 700. That's a big chunk of your mana right there, and I don't have that every time I need it. So I usually run Locust Swarm with Fetish Sycophants for the extra defense. Other than Locust Swarm, I'm just gonna change this back to Jaunt. You can run with the Grasp of the Dead. The Grasp of the Dead is a somewhat overlooked spell in my opinion. You can use extra slow, and you're gonna have an area where the mobs are slowed, pretty decent. Other than that, you can go for the Death is Life. Every enemy killed within the Grasp of the Dead has a 10% chance to drop a health globe or summon a zombie dog. The health globe thingy is pretty good with Gruesome Feast, and this extra zombie dog is going to be up at all time. You're going to be having 3 zombie dogs at all time. This is basically another a free way to get zombie dogs, and a free way to get pretty decent amount of extra health globes. You're going to be required to kill fast. This is not very good for when you're trying to push the higher greater rifts, because it has no crowd control and you're just basically going to die. This is very good for running 5 levels below your personal best, because it's gonna increase your damage in your time if run with Gruesome Feast. We have talked in a short while about the Jungle Fortitude. The Jungle Fortitude increases your toughness by 15%. We just have a look. 15 million. Into almost 18. It's a very decent toughness bonus, and can be used if you feel yourself dying too much. You can also pick the Fetish Sycophants here. This is of course only if you're not running with the Star Metal Kukri and the Fetish army down here, or the Belt of Transcendence. You have 3 ways to get your Fetish up, and this is one of them. I recommend having the Fetishes up every time in every build, and this is if your last way out to make it, basically, if you choose to have another build and if you choose to have another weapon than Star Metal Kukri. Having 15 fetishes just take a lot of ranged attacks. I find them killing me the most, and they deal decent damage. Also, you can go for the Rush of Essence if you find yourself needing mana. Every time you cast Haunt or Horrify or Soul Harvest or Spirit Walk, you gain 100 mana. These are the spells that you spam. Having chosen this passive, you are never going to be running out of mana. Let's just see. Spirit Walk is free, Soul Harvest is free, and Haunt costs less than 100 mana. You're not going to be running out of mana with this one. So if you don't need the extra damage or the extra toughness or the extra cooler reduction, but you need the extra mana, I recommend going for Rush of Essence. This is best if you're running for the Haunt increased damage from the 2-set bonus. Right. So now we have an idea about the passives and these active spells. Oh, I'm gonna be changing my weapon back. This one. And talking about the spells, the items used in the video, and the alternatives. In this video I'm gonna be running with the Sunkeeper. If I had an extra gift, I would be gifting this one and increasing my damage by 5% or something like that, and my elite damage by about 9%. So my damage would be increased. However, right now I'm gonna be running with the Sunkeeper simply for the low attack per second. This is to increase my boom damage. This is a boom build I'm running right now, and the Sunkeeper has a low attack speed compared to other weapons. This has 1.2. Azurewrath has 1.4, 1.4, 1.4, 1.4. Other weapons have 1.4. So, other weapons you can choose to have for the cold build, if you're running cold build, is the Azurewrath. This has increased cold skill damage, and it has a 20 to 25% chance to freeze, minus 22%, pretty decent. And this is every time you cast Haunt. So when you spam, you have an extra 21% chance to stun your enemies. This is not bad. This is for the extra cool, extra CC. You can also be running. Where did I hide this? Reinhardt. 10% chance to hit instantly deals 10,000% weapon damage at enemies that are frozen. If you can find a spell that freezes them, go for this one. So the Star Metal Kukri we already talked about. If you have an ancient one of these, you're very lucky, and I am very, very jealous. But even with this non-ancient Star Metal Kukri, I've done 46, and the damage increase is just ballistic. I used this with the Haunt reapplication build, as the Big Bad Voodoo increases the attack speed, and you're gonna be just beast moding the mobs at around 400 million damage each time you hit, and you hit very fast. You have I had 2.0 attacks per second, and that's a lot when you're hitting with 3 of them if you're using the Haunting Girdle. At least it's a lot for Witch Doctors right now. And another choice, one of my personal favorites, is the Anas's Edge. This one makes your stun enemies around you for 1.5 seconds whenever a zombie dog is summoned. If you use this and this, you summon a zombie dog every 2 seconds, and you stun enemies every 2 seconds for 1.5 seconds. This is a lot of increased crowd control. Of course, this is only usable if the monsters are very near to you, so I recommend using this for the boom build. Other than that, there is nothing much to say. You have to use the best rolled weapon you have. With the exception of the Star Metal Kukri, I found that you can reach right around the same difficulty with each of the ancients I have right here, even the Gift of Celeria, which doesn't do anything special, and the Anas's Edge. There might be other one-hand weapons that I haven't tried. The In-Geom is not good. So basically just go for whatever ancient you have or whatever playstyle you like. For the offhand, we have the Ukrainian Serpent. We have talked about that. That's the increased 30% damage increase. The 30% damage you take is redirected to your zombie dogs. This is usable for extra toughness. The Sunimasa, it has 6 stats. This means you can go for the extra toughness from 13% life, and you can go for mana regeneration. Or you can choose to go for the extra haunt damage. I have not chosen to go for that on this one because I found myself lacking the damage. I should do it, I think, because it makes my booms go so much bigger. But I think I'd rather have the haunt damage instead of the life, and I haven't gotten a I haven't gotten a perfect Sunimasa yet. You should have to roll haunt damage instead of life, and have mana regeneration at 14, not as 13 as I have. Also, there is the Thing of the Deep. This is one of the old school ways to run it, with the 20 extra pickup health and gold pickup radius. This affects your Grave Injustice, which means that basically anytime a monster dies within the screen, you get a cooldown reduction. This is not as good as it once was, because it doesn't apply to your Spirit Walk until you are not in Spirit Walk anymore. This was good before, long ago, because it made you survive a lot more. Now, however, it's not that good. But if you find yourself in a group running something, I guess you can use it. Lastly, for the offhand, you can even go for a shield for extra toughness. You see, this is an ivory tower with pretty decent rolls. Most importantly, the secondaries reduces damage from ranged and reduces damage from melee by 33 and 7%. If you have a tanking Witch Doctor or something like that, you can use your shield from that and go into the Jade build. My toughness would go from 15.4 to 22.2. Also, my damage would be decreasing, but you can, if you find yourself dying too much, you can use a shield. This is, of course, only recommendable for the boom build, as the melee damage reduction is a lot of the toughness. And if you're standing ranged, you're not going to be hit by melee, hopefully. A new thing with the 2.2 is that there are a lot of new builds to choose from. And these builds pretty much make your build. First of all, we have the Witching Hour. This is what you could run before. You could, in the old 2.1.2, you would be running with the Vigilante build for the extra cooldown reduction, or you would be running with Witching Hour for the extra damage. These are still options. I find that the Witching Hour is better now, because you don't need as much cooldown reduction as you used to. I'm only at 26%, because as a boomer I run in and I use Soul Harvest. I let my Grave Injustice do the cooldown reduction work, and I just need enough damage to kill anything. This is a very aggressive and very hopeful way to play, and I don't think you can do very much more than 47 with this playstyle. It is fun though, everything dies, even you sometimes. Another choice is the Chrome's buff belt. This is best, I find, if you are very, 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 very good, or you're running low rift. This gives you 25% movement speed if you're not taking damage. So you can use this, use Spirit Walk, run into a lot of mobs very fast, boom, kill them all, run to the next pack. This is good for low rifting. And you can use the bracers that go with them for the 500 extra vitality and the immune to knockback and stun effects. This is not useless. I've never seen anyone else use it, but I think it's just misunderstood. The extra vitality is decent toughness bonus. We can actually have a look. The chromes in itself give a lot of toughness, and then the boost gives a lot more toughness. So I go from around 20 to around 9. That's a 33% bonus toughness from these two items alone. Of course, you do lose a lot of damage. I didn't really see what we lost. 200,000 damage is lost. This one. Another build is the String of Ears. Reduces melee damage by 26%. This is extremely good for the boom build. 32% extra toughness from this one alone. That's a lot. If you combine it with a shield, you have a lot of damage reduction. Almost too much. At least the melee damage reduction is ridiculous with 54%. Your damage is lagging, but melee damage reduction can be very useful, as the new Jade is going to be taking a lot more hits than the old Jade. The final one I'm going to be discussing is the Belt of Transcendence. Oh, not the final one. I'm sorry. It is the Belt of Transcendence. This is the one I'm going to be talking about before the final one. It summons a fetish sycophant each time you hit. You just need a decent roll. I haven't gotten a decent roll yet. You need an ancient. And you summon a fetish sycophant. This is one of the 3 ways you can get a fetish sycophant. And if you don't feel like you lose too much toughness or too much damage, and if you feel you can get the fetish sycophants in no other way, this is a pretty good choice. The last one I can't seem to find right now. I had it before. That's weird. It's a Haunting Girdle. It casts an extra haunt every time you cast haunt. So if you're running with the cold build, instead of casting 2 haunts, you cast 3 haunts. And with the poison, you cast 2 haunts instead of 1 haunt. I find this to be more useful with the poison build. If you're running poison, it allows the poison build to be the ranged haunt reapplication spell because you cast 2 instead of 1. You can also run it with the cold build to really maximize how much haunt damage you deal by casting 3 instead of 2. This is a 50% increase, and I like to think that adds a lot of damage. Also, we have the braces. Well, the 2.2 did give us a lot more options, even with the braces. The classic is the strong arm braces with the elemental damage, intelligence, vitality, and crit chance, and 20% more damage for 5 seconds. This was the only choice beforehand, except perhaps for the Nemesis braces if you want more champions. I did run these in the first season, doing pretty well. However, they were not that popular, and even I got back to the strong arm braces for the damage increase. Another choice now is the Wokisian arm guards for more movement speed. You're going to be dying a lot, so extra movement speed is a good way to avoid that. Then of course, as we talked about, the Chrome buff braces for the additional toughness and immunity to knockback and stun. If you get stunned, you die, because anything one-shots you at 47 and 48, even with 20 million toughness. So this is pretty good for that one. You're not going to be able to use the Ancient Path and Defenders, because no matter how you stun them as a Witch Doctor, this is not going to work. It's not even going to work with the Anasasis Edge. What a name. It's not going to be working with your Perinator. It's not going to be working with Horrify. It's not going to be working with anything. If you find a way to use this, please let me know in the comments down below. But I haven't really found any use for them yet. I would love to use these for a boom build, because 12% less damage from everything per stunned enemy is a lot. It's going to be increasing your toughness by a lot. And finally, we have the Steady Strikers. Where are these? These have the option to go for attack speed instead of vitality. These are very good for the fast haunt build, because higher attack speed equals higher damage, and you're not going to be using very much toughness as you're not going to be in the fight. Also, I've been lucky enough for these to roll with ranged damage reduction, because you're going to be hit by ranged damage from time to time. So damage reduction here is pretty good. For the rings, we have the ability to run with the best ring in the game, in my opinion, the Convention of Elements. I've been very lucky to find this one. This is almost perfect. You're going to be wanting crit damage, crit chance, and a high element increase. I have a 198 out of 200. So every time this circles around to either cold or poison, however your build is, your damage is going to be increased by about 200%. And this means that any damage, any boom you deal is going to deal 3 times the damage. When you are running with Jade, you can choose when to boom, and you can pretty much just collect all the monsters, apply haunt on them, wait for the cold or the poison to show up, and go in and boom boom boom, and you can kill pretty much anything. If you're lucky enough, there are enough monsters to die instantly that you can cast Soul Harvest and then recast it instantly before running away. You have to run the Ring of Royal Grandeur because of the Soul Harvest from the 6-piece bonus and the Quetzalcoatl helmet. This effectively doubles the damage from your Haunt and your Soul Harvest. You cannot run without this. And the Ring of Royal Grandeur makes it possible to run with this. I have tried running Focus and Restraint instead of these and the Jade helmet. It doesn't really work. The Focus and Restraint is effectively 100% bonus damage. That's what you get from Quetzalcoatl. And additionally, you can run with Convention of Elements when you run with Ring of Royal Grandeur. So I recommend this setup. Other options are Unity. If you find yourself dying too much, Unity doubles your toughness. I don't like that. I feel that the damage without this is too low. But that's, well, your choice. You can also run with the Stone of Jordan for the elite damage boost. This used to be the best in slot, as it increases the elemental damage and elite damage. And even though the damage is good on this one, I find myself wanting to boom at the Convention of Elements instead. You can run this if you don't really want to play with the Convention of Elements, or don't want to feel stressed out about finding the exact time to boom and all that. It's pretty difficult to do. So you can run the Stone of Jordan for the easy way out. Another possibility that I really don't like that much, maybe good for the lower levels, is the Fear from movement speed bonus of Fear with the Oracle's Ring of Larceny. Every time you cast Fear, you gain a 55% or 45 to 60% movement speed increase. This is a lot. And you're going to be moving fast from target to target. I believe this is only really usable if you're going to be running speed Torment 6. I find it very good to do that, but for high greater rifting I'm not really going to recommend it. The last ring is the Focus and Restraint. Where is my restraint? There. I don't like this, but you can do it if you don't want to use the 6-piece bonus, but then again you might be wanting to do a combination of Sunimasa and Jade, and that's not what I'm going to be covering in this video. There are a lot of other ways to do the Jade if you're not going to be running the 6-piece, and they might be more efficient, but this is the way to run Jade, as Jade is meant to be played. Thank you. Then we have the amulets. I have found the Hellfire amulet. Took me ages, but well, season 1 is going to be used for something. I used it to find the Hellfire amulet, and after finding this I stopped. I found this to be good enough. You ideally want to have elemental damage, critical hit critical hit chance, one of these 4 passives, which makes you able to choose from the other 4. I've been lucky enough to find one, and that makes the passives much more open for choices. Other ways to run are the immunity ring amulets. You can either run the lightning immunity, the cold immunity, the fire immunity, or the poison immunity. I have that somewhere, right there. if you find something killing you, especially I hate thunderstorm, so I considered picking one of these and running with that. And that's really up to your playstyle, what you want and what you have. Basically, if you have a well-rolled amulet, go with that. You just want elemental, crit, and a socket. For the normal gems, I have tried playing a little bit around with having intelligence and having all resistance in my gems. I find this setup to suit me the best because it has a little bit of damage increase and a little bit of elemental resistance increase. We can try and swap them a bit around. 1.55 into 1.426, so 130,000 for 3. I can even go with 1.42. Having all of them increases the damage by 200,000, and having all of these 18 million into 22 million, having all of them increases your toughness by 4 million. I like to have it this way for the bit of damage and a bit of toughness. You can do whatever you want. You can even go with the red ones, the rubies, for the additional strength, which provides the armor, or the green ones for the extra armor. That's up to you. The legendary gems. This is also good because there are a lot of possibilities here too. You have the Bane of the Trapped, which in my opinion is the best one. It flat out gives you 30% extra damage for every enemy which is under the effect of control impairing effect. The gem itself is a control impairing effect, Tornado is, and Haunt is. So any unit you attack with Haunt, which makes it take 30% increased damage. Other choices are the Size Stone of Vengeance. This one gives you a damage increase for being far away from the mobs. The further you are away, the higher the damage, and it gives you a stun. This is good for the Haunt reapplication damage build, and even for the Boom build. Better for the other one though. And the Taeguk, difficult to play with as you have to reapply it all the time, even when not in combat. But it gives a huge damage increase and a huge armor increase. I recommend this for the Boom build, as it gives extra armor and a lot extra damage. Mine being 70 times equals 35% bonus damage, which makes it one of the highest damage increased from a gem, and also gives you a lot of toughness. You used to run with a gem of Efficacious Toxin, 4,500% extra damage, which is added to your Soul Harvest damage, and a 10% increased damage from all sources. With the new d3planner.com, I was able to calculate that this is in no way as good a damage as neither Size Stone of Vengeance, Bane of the Trapped, or Taeguk. For it to be better than the Size Stone of Vengeance, you have to be within 15 yards or something, which is really not where you are. You are, in my estimation, about 20 yards at least from the mobs, except when booming. Also, you can run with the Esoteric Alteration for a hell of a lot of bonus resistance. Let's remove this one. This is at rank 50, gives 35% non-physical damage reduction. This is every spell, every elite affix, pretty much is non-physical. And when below half-life, you gain extra 75% resistance. So without being at less than half-life, our toughness goes from 20,400,000 to 28.8. That's a lot of bonus of bonus toughness. So you can choose between extra damage from the Size Stone of Vengeance, extra damage from the Gem of Efficacious Toxin, or the extra toughness of Esoteric Alteration, or a bit of both with the Taeguk. Really comes down to your playstyle. Also, there is a possibility of running with the Gogok of Swiftness. I used to have a good one, don't really know where it is. It increases your attack speed and your cooldown reduction. I recommend only using this if you're going for the Haunt 2-piece set bonus, and even then the damage is really not that good. You might want to run this with the combination build of Sunni, but I really don't know about that one. You can also run with this one. I don't find it working very much. Or you can run with the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard thingy, which gives a lot of bonus life per second. This allows you, if you're running with Esoteric Alteration, to regen a lot of the life you're losing. This is only at 36, I haven't played a lot around with it, but recovery goes from 500 to 2 million. A lot of life regen, and this is only at rank 36. Additionally, it gives you a shield for double your life per second, so you could use it in conjunction with some items to give additional life per second. I have about 50,000, which means that the gem would give a basic shield of 100,000 HP. That's about 10% of my total HP. This is not bad, but it could be better if you actually spec'd for it. I find this to be one of the more interesting ways to run around, and might even be better for some situation than Esoteric Alteration. So for the final parts of the video, I'm just going to be explaining the basics of the Jade set and what you want to run with it. The boots, pretty simple. You want Ancients with Intelligence, Vitality, Armor and Movement Speed. The movement speed makes you be able to choose Intelligence instead of just movement speed, so it actually increases your damage. You can also run with the extra resource, not resource, but the extra resistance if you like that one. The pants, Intelligence, Vitality, Armor and 2 sockets. The chest, Intelligence, Vitality, Haunt damage and 3 sockets. The Jade gloves, you have 2 choices here actually. Intelligence, Vitality, crit hit damage and crit hit chance, or Intelligence, crit hit damage, critical chance and cooldown reduction. This depends on your playstyle, if you want higher Vitality or a higher cooldown reduction. You can even use one of these, which gives you more attack speed. This is of course if you need attack speed and if you don't need either Vitality and cooldown reduction. This is best for using the Haunt reapplication build. The shoulders, Intelligence, Vitality, cooldown reduction and Haunt damage. You can also use, just like with the gloves, instead of cooldown reduction, some kind of defensive, either armor or all resist. I don't have one to show you, but you can do that. And the helm, Intelligence, Vitality, crit hit chance and a socket. This concludes my guide for the new Witch Doctor Jade Harvester build for patch 2.2.0. I find it to be a very interesting dynamic to play the new Jade Harvester, and it's very interesting to be able to have a build that has a lot of toughness and a lot of damage and a lot of recovery actually, if you want to do that as well. There are many ways to run the new one and it hasn't been explored very much. I find it very interesting to see what we're capable of doing, even if we don't really know it yet, and we just want to stop believing that the Jade is dead, and that we have to run it the same way we used to. I don't know if one-handers are better than two-handers, but I do know that they are not worse so far yet. I have run, my personal best is 47, Grey 47, and I've run a better time with one-handers than I have with two-handers so far. I am interested to hear about your comments, and if you have made some experience of your own, or what you find the best, I really want to hear about it in the comment section. I don't really want to see what other people are capable of doing. And also, if you have any suggestions for future videos I can make, or if you want to see the boom build in practice or the horn build in practice, or any other build I might do with the Jade Harvester, of course I will be very glad to do it. So far, I'm just gonna say good night and thank you very much for tuning in. This is Some Pika.